Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's selection comes at us from John. Dimmu Borgir, Unter korpens vinger. Dimmu Borgir is a band that's usually a pretty safe pick for me, especially around the black metal area, which is kind of hit and miss, mostly miss. But I consistently enjoy what Dimmu is doing, so I'm always excited to check their stuff out. This one comes off of their 1997 album. Let's dive in and see what they're bringing to the table today. Is that the bass sitting on the bottom with those 16th notes? Finger picked even. Really nice. The offbeat snare is just killing me. So we shift to a 3. Very atmospheric, and I like the combination of the gritty guitars over here with the clean guitars. We get some nice arpeggiation against the fuzzy wall of sound, which is a pretty nice combo. I can't say I'm a fan of that heavy reverb, but hopefully it was just an effect there. Yeah, so retaining a triplet vibe while moving back to 4/4 is really a nice idea to retain both the 4 and the 3 that we had at the opening of the track. That was interesting. A momentary retardando, sort of like a very long fermata, but that's just not how you use fermatas. Yeah, just 2 bars at a lower tempo. Very interesting idea. And the time I went to conduct it, they didn't do it. Fantastic. Okay, that's an interesting move. Really nice bit of syncopation in this track too, all over the place. Not super pronounced, but present at least. I love how he lets the drumstick just sort of roll against the cymbal in that last section. I want to rewind this back real quick. I think it was about here. I want to highlight the cymbal. There is a rhythm, is a ta 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 on the ride cymbal, but on the last note, da 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 da, that last one just kind of lets the stick rest on the cymbal, and it kind of clatters like ta 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 tar ta 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 tar, and it just kind of just lets whatever rebound happen on it, and it sounded really nice. So we're gonna go from zero volume to maxed in a second. Makes me think maybe I should find a way to fade music in. That can't be hard to do. I mean live, but anyways, here we go. It was after this section. I just really like that detail. Ta 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 tar ta 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 tar. Um, it's not something you really hear too often in metal, which first of all is very heavy-handed. Each strike tends to be its own arm movement. Um, so there's a levity to it, but it's also sort of a jazzier thing, I think. When it comes to faster rolls on cymbals in a lot of metal, it tends to be very structured, very rigid. You know, you're going to get a very specific rebound that you're going to use just to speed something up. That way you can do eighth note strokes with your hand, but get 16th stroke hits by utilizing the rebound of the stick. But this just sort of lets the stick do what it physics is going to make it do. It doesn't fit up, it doesn't line up as rhythmically with the music, but it's a really nice embellishment that I think really provides some levity and grace to this section that is just not present in a lot of metal. I do have a confession to make. I have enjoyed some of the Dimmu we've checked out in the past, particularly the Progenies track that we listened to with the full orchestra. I like Dimmu when there's a full orchestra. I think that's a really great sound that they end up utilizing and creating. But coming into the track, I thought this was Flesh God Apocalypse. And so when we started out, I was like, okay, this is very traditional black metal. And I'm expecting like a blackened death symphonic thing. And it takes a while to bring in any orchestral section. I'm like, dang, you know, they had a very different sound when they started. And it was about 2 minutes into the track and it clicked. I was like, oh, wait, I've been thinking about the wrong band. um, So my earlier statements about enjoying Dimmu in the past, almost every time, is somewhat true. but I was talking about Flesh God. But Dimmu has been a pretty good band for me, and this one is no exception. I'll be honest, it's not a sound I think I'm going to come back to often. It is still like 80% straightforward black metal. It has the early sound of black metal stuff to it. It was made in 97. It has production that's fitting of the time and genre. There's a lot of choices in here that just don't work for me on a sonic level, but I do think that there are some parts in here that do click with me rather well. And so the one that I want to start with is their decision to utilize atmosphere in places. This isn't new just for Dimmu, but it is an aspect that I enjoy out of black metal, and it's possibly that this was a sound that Dimmu helped popularize. Yeah, this is 97. My history of black metal is it's a little bit of everywhere. I checked out mostly third wave stuff first, and then y'all threw a bunch of black metal from all over the spectrum at me, and then we checked out first wave. We had a dedicated week towards that. Um, Post black metal, experimental black metal pops up here and there. I don't really have a good chronology of it all. I just kind of have all of these sounds in tucked into one folder in my mind. It's all black metal. Um, So maybe someone else had already popularized this sound and Dimmu was just following in the footsteps. I don't know. But for 97, the use of the synths sounds interesting to me. They do have a MIDI-esque thing going on, which, I mean, that's just 90s rock music and probably a lot of music going for a more orchestral and wider sound, given that virtual instruments were becoming a thing, even though they didn't sound fantastic. This isn't the only track from the mid to late 90s that we've listened to with an obviously MIDI orchestral section and choir. I don't think it sounds bad. And at the time, it was probably pretty cool, but it is something that dates it. Um, where was I going with all this? The stuff I liked. Oh yeah, the atmospheric stuff. Wow, I got off topic real quick. Uh, they take moments away from the 16th note, constant chugging through the track, and explore these other sections. The one part that I really liked had a clean guitar off on the left, playing a moving lick. I'm not going to say it was a melody, but it was melodic. But its job, I think, was primarily foundational, organizing the chord, outlining the chords so that we could hear them better. Over on the right, though, we had the fuzzy guitar just creating this wall of sound, and I like the use of harmonic and melodic ideas against the wall of sound concept. I think that worked really well. And the way that they meshed and layered up on each other just sounded really nice. And we had a couple of sections like that where we just introduced a slowing down of the pace. We just chill out for a little bit. And, a lot of people tell me black metal can be atmospheric. In fact, there's an entire genre of atmospheric black metal, and it tends to dip more into these sides. But as far as this era of black metal, I kind of have this very specific idea. This would have been around the time that we were transitioning from the second to third and began to incorporate, if we weren't already in the third wave, the stereotypical black metal sound, the less adventurous, rigorous outline of what black metal is around this time. And I like how they were saying, well, what if we stick to some atmosphere? What if we stop playing fast for some moments? And I really like those. It provides an ebb and flow to this track that, despite it being 6 minutes, didn't feel like it. That's not something that typically happens with me in black metal, primarily because the repetitive nature and consistency of rhythmic structure creates something that feels like it takes forever to finish. And I think part of that's just pacing and flow, something that Dimmu Borgir excels at. They know how to take things back a little bit. On the topic of dynamics, we do have these moments to create a contrast against the faster 16th note playing, and that creates an ebb and flow through the track. But they also find ways to create dynamics in other ways as well. There's tempo shifts throughout here. We had time signature shifts at the beginning, which I thought was really neat. We started in 4/4, shifted to a 3/4, and then moved back to 4/4 with a triplet feel, giving us both the 3 and the 4 simultaneously. Just very nice way to take us on a journey and send us to a destination that feels like a culmination of everything we experienced. I dig that. They play around with tempo. Our tempos change throughout this track. We even have that one section that shifted the tempo down for 2 bars, the last 2 bars of every 8 bar phrase. That was an interesting idea. Um, I guess that's about it for tempo dynamics. Volume was pretty much consistent throughout. There were some quieter sounding sections, but I think that mostly looks at layering dynamics. Some of the sections had full bands plus strings plus choir. They were really big. Other sections felt a bit smaller. The volume never really moved, but it does give the illusion of that, which again just creates a nice dynamic element to the track. And based on how they take this, when we have the big points, when we have the small points, it also creates a nice journey and an ebb and flow throughout the track. A lot of what's going on here is about making black metal dynamic. It's about creating pacing. It's not about running at 10 for an entirety of a track. It's about finding other places below an intensity of maxed out and figuring out how to tell a story with the black metal element still being prominent. The 16th note picking with fuzzy guitars and high pitched wailing harshes, they're all present here. You could not confuse this for anything other than black metal. They just don't make it the only aspect. We're not eating straight cinnamon here. Nope. That metaphor was going to fall apart real quick. Because it's not really a spice in the music, it's still the meat of it. It just has other spices and flavors and food in the soup as well. That's better. I think that came out a little better than where I was going with cinnamon. But yeah, it's dynamic for black metal, and I don't even know if it needs that qualifier. It's a dynamic track. I'd say it's on par with a lot of radio rock, hard rock style tracks, metalcore. Um, it kind of hits those same dynamic areas. We have low points, we have high points. We sort of just alternate between them. We have two types of music here, um, which is, that's the current state of things. I'd say that's the de facto baseline level of dynamic writing in rock and metal music today. And it's nice to see black metal reaching that bare minimum bar, which sounds like a jab, and I guess it is in a little bit, but yeah, it's just poking fun at black metal. It's just one of those things I don't know that I'll ever get over about it. When we talked about Cryptopsy's None So Vile, I mentioned a lot of the over the topness was a negative for me, and a lot of the comments said, well, yeah, metal is kind of over the top as a whole. I mean, they're called extreme metal genres. The extremity is part of the spectacle. And I suppose I had never thought about this, but in black metal, the intensity just being maxed out all the time, this, to me, ridiculousness of the traditional vocal style, that nasally, pointed, narrow, harsh, the 16th notes constantly. It's all a bit ridiculous, but maybe in a very endearing sense. Maybe no different than the overbearing guitar parts and ridiculous lyrics in Cryptopsy's album None So Vile. Black metal just finds a way to reach those extremes, the over the topness in a different manner. And that's probably what draws people to it. Metal as a whole is sort of ridiculous, and I don't know that I ever made that connection until the Cryptopsy video, and I'm beginning to see it in other places, and I think I'm just not ready for that. Either that or there is a spot that is not quite extreme enough, or but it is still too extreme. Because like Archspire, I think is the most extreme music I've listened to, and I enjoy that for its extremities, which I think that makes Archspire coming up twice today in two different videos. Certainly on my mind for some reason. Um, but yeah, black metal sits in a spot where it's too extreme for me for general listening, but not quite extreme enough to enjoy on a technical level. Huh. Interesting thing. I'm gonna have to further explore that. I need a vlog or something to express my thoughts outside of reactions to keep these a little more contained and razor honed, I think. I keep coming up with these cool ideas, and this is really my only outlet to put them in. Kind of has nothing to do with Dimmu, though. Um, we gotta talk about the production. I know it's 97, it's black metal. I wasn't expecting a lot, and honestly, what I got is better than I think some other bands were doing at the time. But the vocal production is just it's going to be divisive. I'm not a fan of it at all. Um, it sounds like when I thought I could record vocals on my little $10 computer microphone, um, that I got at like, I don't know, Walmart or something when I was 11, so that I could chat with my friends on AIM when they introduced voice chatting. Um, and I thought I could use some what Windows Recorder, Microsoft Recorder possibly on like Windows XP. Maybe 2000, might have had Windows 2000 at the time. And it just sounds reverby and garbage, and the term for this ended up being toilet bowl vocals, just having this massive reverb and swirliness around the vocals. And that's what they purposefully aimed for on this. And it was the first thing I could think of was toilet bowl vocals. And I don't know if it's just the sound is very heavily produced in a way I don't enjoy, or if it's because this specific sound I have a lot of negative connotations tied to the 90s and bad recording equipment. Um, but I can't take these vocals seriously in this delivery. Um, I don't think the vocal part was bad, and as usual, there's a lot of respect for the vocal delivery, the harsh vocals themselves. They're not my cup of tea, but they're not easy to pull off. You know, these bands, all of them who do it, it takes chops, it takes practice. Um, I don't want to put that down at all, but I can't come around to the sound, the production. It's just big old hurdle for me. But I suppose everything else in the song sort of comes together nicely. The drums are articulate, they're a bit dynamic. We have quite a few different styles across them. I enjoy all of the guitar voicings, the orchestral elements, the strings, the choir. They're nice. Not quite as good as what I heard when they played with the full orchestra, but again, I think there's a big difference of time, maturation of composition there, and maturation of technology. Or I suppose maybe just the difference between virtual instruments of old and having a real orchestra. That's gonna that's gonna make a wee bit difference too. Um, but yeah, I mean, I can feel a lot of origins here. I can see how this band became what I enjoyed in that Progenies track. I don't know, I can't remember the full title. But this right here feels really rough and undeveloped in a way that I think would appease black metal fans in general if you really like the genre, but is going to be a bit of a tough sell for people who are outside of that fandom and maybe enjoy Dimmu Borgir's other works that are a bit newer and dance outside of that black metal foundation a fair bit more than they did here. I'm going to take a moment to read the lyrics, which I believe were nicely translated by the requester. I always appreciate that. And then we'll wrap this up and head on out. All right, so we have 16 lines, that's it. And it seems to be about some sort of, I don't know. There's definitely elements of sorrow, loneliness, isolation, the way that this drains life from the world, color from the world, beauty from the world. And all of it is drenched in metaphor of something else, but there is also an element of somebody sowing seeds of evil and creating death. So there is a bit of this ritualistic element, or possibly just the presence of evil. Anyways, it says, when the years freeze to ice and the blood no longer streams, when through you the fog drifts, you are no longer of life dreams. Sorry, you no longer of life dreams. So when you stop aging, when the blood stops moving through you, and when you don't have life anymore, that's when the rest of this set of lyrics, that's sort of the state we're in right here. It says, nothing here is white, nothing here is green. The coldness has taken my soul, and my eyes find here no longer beautiful. I think this is a direct translation, so there's going to be some grammatical inconsistencies, but I think that the notion is preserved rather well. Because it's not just that I don't find this place beautiful anymore, it's that my eyes find here no longer beautiful. It's not me, it's just my eyes. I don't perceive this area as beautiful anymore. I think it's really interesting if that disconnect is purposeful, if it's meaningful, because there is a difference, if you want to create it, between your mind interpreting what your eyes see and what your eyes themselves see before interpretation from, the brain when it figures out what you're seeing. It's kind of awkward to state it this way, but I think it says something different, and I think it's interesting to read it with that intent. Regardless, this person has died, and where they are is colorless. It says that there's a coldness that has taken their soul, and since their soul is gone, they can't find beauty here anymore. But it says, in the moon fog, you won't stop until the goal is reached instinctively. With death living, seeds of evil are sown. After a desolate and withered place, you are looking, 'cause your journey is now over. When the solitary swallows no longer chirp, don't let the circle be broken. I'm not quite sure what the ending is supposed to be alluding to there, but everything sort of leads up to, you have taken my soul, you have killed me, you continue to spread evil. Life, afterlife, kind of sucks here. Nothing is worth living for, ironically, to put it that way. And now that your journey is over, now that you've spread all this evil, everything is desolate and withered, and now not even you know what to do. What does it feel like to achieve your goal where you destroy everything? That's kind of what I get out of this. I don't really have any strong ties to bring the lyrics and the music together. I think they're fine. There's definitely a negativity in the lyrics that I feel in the music, but I don't know if I just attribute that to black metal in general or if it was actually a vibe I picked up out of the track. But those are my thoughts on Dimmu Borgir's Korpens vinger. I think I put too much emphasis on that rolled R. I think I did it a lot better at the beginning of the video. Anyways, that track. Let me know your thoughts, comments, perspectives, and opinions on this. Throw it all down in the comment section above that in the description box. You can find a link to Linktree in there. It takes you to this menu right here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe. Really? There we go. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I really appreciate all three of those. All right, until next time. Oh no, we have a video tomorrow. Two videos, special selection and a theme one, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.